All right, we're back. This is John.
Hey, it's Paul.
And it's Eric.
Is it really us? Are we sure? All right, this is What If Geeks. So today we want to talk about a conspiracy theory or two. First, we're going to get into our regular, show shit. But it's actually been a couple of weeks since we recorded. We pre-recorded the American patriotic episode from last week. You'd never know we're that professional. But, yeah. We only talked about pre-recording it throughout 2 episodes. So we're back for the first time all together because Eric was out of town, and Paul and I got together at one point and suffered in the dark. We'll talk about all that later. But, so what's going on? How you guys been? It's been 2 weeks.
Good.
Eric, where the hell did you go? What are you doing?
I went to Central Illinois, back home where I grew up.
Nice.
It was good fun. We always my mom has she lives out in like bumfuck nowhere, and she always has a party, 4th of July party at her house every year. And the reason is the fire.
Nobody fucking complains.
Well, yeah. No, the fire department that's in this little town. It's an all volunteer fire department. They do all these like spaghetti dinners and breakfasts and stuff like that all throughout the year. And people come from like big town around, like wherever. And they end up raising like maybe 10 to 12 grand every year to do a fireworks show for this town of like 300 people.
Oh, nice.
So what happens is a bunch of people from the big city next door all drive out. So my mom has a tiny house, but a huge property, right? So like hundreds of people can hang out in the backyard, and she's literally behind the fire station where they do all the firework launches. Nice. So we get an incredible show every year. It gets better every year too. It's really ridiculous, to be honest. There was like, you get that grand finale moment where you got like a million fireworks going off and everybody's like, woo. We had like 5 of those this year. Wow. Like it was just like nonstop. It was like, 3 minutes of nothing, of slow stuff, and then boom, like a finale, and everybody's like, oh, it's over. Oh, nope. They're going to keep going. The fireworks show was over 20 minutes long this year.
That's crazy.
For this tiny town, right? With
That's
like
awesome.
6 volunteer firefighters doing all the launching. It was really cool. So we did that every year, so we did this year. It was
Those
good
guys
fun.
probably have a blast doing it. Like
I'm
6
sure
volunteer
they do.
firefighters in a small
No
town.
pun intended.
Would blast.
Yeah, my sister and my brother-in-law used to be on the volunteer fire department
Right.
there. So they moved out to a different town, but yeah, they definitely had a blast.
That's cool.
Nice. Well, we hung out here. My cousin, a.k.a. Goodnight Tony, we decided to get our kids together so they could spend the night. So they all came out here and spent the night on the 4th. And we, did pool party, whatever, kind of, grilled. The guy's an amazing cook. I mean, you guys should hang out sometime. Grilled burgers and everything. Like, he made a whole bunch of stuff. Noah ate like a champ. And then kind of hung out and watched the fireworks and stuff, and then the next day we were hanging out watching movies and doing whatever, and he made breakfast. It was really cool. And then I bought Heather for Christmas. I bought her 2 tickets to go see Hugh Jackman in Tampa. And she chose Paul's wife, Gail, to go with her. So they went out, and I told Paul, well, if the girls are going out, bring the kids over and on Friday, and we'll kind of hang out at the pool, whatever. So Paul got over here before Tony left, so he got to meet Tony.
Yeah, so he texts me and he goes, "You're going to miss Tony." And I'm like, "Tony who?" And he goes, "Good night, Tony." I'm like, "Oh, shit, hold on, tell him it's not."
Yeah, so he was like, "Yeah, I'll wait." So,
And so one of the days I was driving back from, I don't even remember where I went, and there's a KFC on the way between wherever I was and home. And I'm stopped at the light right there, and I look over, and there's this giant sign that KFC has come up with the Cheeto chicken sandwich. And I'm like, and I see it, and I'm like, oh, we have to do this for the podcast.
Ugh.
So I took a picture. I'm at the light. I took a picture of the sign, and I texted it to John. I'm like, we have to do this for the podcast when we hang out on Friday. And I'm like, I know Eric probably wouldn't eat it if he was here, so it works out. He's not. But I'm like, and we'll get some for the kids, and we'll have the kids try it, and we'll do it sort of live on the podcast.
Yeah,
right?
we can record it live. It'd be great.
So I get to the KFC, and it takes forever, and then they have these Cinnabon cinnamon biscuits. Right? Like they take the KFC biscuit, and they just drown it in Cinnabon cinnamon stuff and icing. Right? So it's not a cinnamon bun; it's this KFC biscuit. So I'm like, well, I'll throw some of those in there, and then like the kids are probably going to think this chicken sandwich is bad, so they're going to need dinner. So throw some actual KFC in there. So I ended up spending like $40-something on KFC. And so roll in with this bag, and then we get here, and the kids are kind of in the pool, and then because it starts raining,
The power goes out.
Oh. Power's out for like the next 2 and change hours.
Yeah, so we couldn't record anything really unless we wanted to do it like
This is
on our
what
phone.
you posted on Facebook about this.
Yeah. And I was like, real? Okay, whatever.
So we ended up eating the Cheetos chicken sandwiches in the kitchen
In the dark.
in the dark.
Yeah. And it was, me, you, and Tony.
Yeah.
And
At
the
first-
kids tried it.
Yeah.
You know, Noah said he liked it, but he only took like a bite and a half of it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Coleman said he
liked it. He ended up eating about half of it.
and then he put it down.
Here's what's weird. So, okay, so it's a...
better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, me too.
That's all I'll say.
Yeah, the takeaway is it's better than I thought.
It's pretty much what you're thinking. That face you keep making, that's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
much what you're thinking. Yeah, it's that, but it's just a little bit better.
Yeah. And look, we're not sponsored by KFC. We're not sponsored by any of this. Like, I paid for the chicken sandwiches, right? I don't know if that's some kind of weird disclaimer we have to make, but... So we're not getting paid to say this, so we can tell you the truth.
We're not getting paid to do a damn thing.
It's weird, right? It's weird looking, right?
Brought to you by Fuck You.
There's some kind of cheese on the top. There's some kind of cheese sauce that looks like if you melted a Cheeto on it. Like it's that weird orange color.
Yeah.
But it's not a slice of cheese. It's just like it's painted on a wet.
Yeah,
it's like liquid. And then
Weird.
because the thing gets hot by the time I got it from the KFC on whatever that is, 535 to here, there's this weird orange liquid at the bottom of the thing that again looks like melted Cheeto.
Yeah, when they dig up my corpse, it's going to be a skeleton and a fucking chicken sandwich with Cheetos in it.
And so you're like,
And a Philly cheesesteak I ate like 10 years ago.
you're like, I don't know if this is going to be good, but all right, here it goes. And it's not bad.
Yeah, it's not horrible.
It's a KFC breaded chicken breast with Cheetos underneath it and this weird Cheeto-y cheese sauce on the top.
Are they like crunched up Cheetos?
No,
you would have
they're like
thought.
whole
You
Cheetos
would have thought
underneath
they
it.
would. Yeah, no, they were whole
It's
Cheetos.
like, you know how there's
And
a
then
thing where
there's
people
a-
put potato chips on their sandwiches or
fries.
burgers?
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I do that. I
It's
actually
like
like
that.
that. I like to have crunch in my sandwich.
It's
I'll
like that.
put
Well,
some
there you go. There was crunch in that
ruffles
chicken
on
sandwich.
them or some shit.
Yeah.
It wasn't the worst thing I put in my mouth. That's what she said.
It's you're eating it and you're like,
But then it has like a nuclear orange Cheeto sauce too.
yes.
Yes. Yeah. So that's the part where the whole time
And
you're eating it,
this
you're
left.
like,
This is what left the liquid in the.
Probably.
Oh,
yeah. So
yeah.
the whole time you're trying it, you're like, I don't know if I'm going to live through this.
Right.
But, again.
So I'm a pretty adventurous guy. I'll eat just about anything. But for some reason, watching people eat Cheetos and getting the orange shit on, I don't want to see that. And I couldn't imagine putting that on a sandwich.
Yeah.
It's a weird. We came up with the John realized that what must happen is because Taco Bell and KFC and Pizza Hut are owned by the same people, and Frito-Lay
Yum
has,
Foods.
and Frito-Lay has Doritos. Like there's this Doritos Taco Bell synergy going on.
Because they do the Dorito Taco Bell, whatever taco that is.
That's also disgusting. But yeah.
And they do the chicken.
Although more
KFC and
reasonable, right?
Cheeto.
Like you can see where you could make a taco shell out of Doritos. You're
Yeah,
like, oh,
yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Somebody was like, I don't know, put some Cheetos on the chicken sandwich. Shit, I don't know.
Yeah, it was somebody at those two, the corporations were like, well, we already partnered for this. What else can we do with our products? Because I know Doritos and
You're
Cheetos
probably right.
are
There's
the same,
probably
they're the
a-
same company.
There's probably a tiger team of
Right,
people
right,
that
yeah.
are trying to figure out how to cross the brand,
Yeah.
two product brands together.
Yeah, I only figured it out because I buy snacks for Noah's teams all the time. I know that the Doritos and Cheetos are always in that big package, so I'm like, all right, well, they're the same company.
Yeah.
And you know KFC and Taco Bell are hanging out all the time.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. It's
So
it's
not horrible, but
not
I wouldn't
horrible.
encourage
I wouldn't
it.
do it again. The Cinnabon biscuit things are weird because it's just it's like they're old biscuits.
And that was a little bit better than
repurposed.
That was a little bit better than the sandwich, maybe because it was sweet.
Yeah, I mean it's just covered in cinnamon.
Yeah.
Cinnamon sauce.
Now, since everybody in America is trying to get healthy, you're not going to eat this thing.
Yeah.
So you're welcome. It's not horrible, but whatever. It's there for a limited time, I guess, if you want to get adventurous. So yeah, that thing kind of sucked.
Yeah.
It was all right.
So,
And then the power went out,
uh-huh.
and it stayed out for 2 hours. And you would have thought we were torturing these kids.
Oh yeah. Oh my god.
Holy shit. We just looked at each other. Paul and I actually got a beer and walked out onto the patio while the kids were moping around the house. We were like, we'll see you later.
Yeah. And Coleman was like, Why can't I play Roblox? There's no internet. Oh, right. And then
2 minutes later.
2 minutes later. Is internet back on yet? No, power's still out.
My favorite part of the whole thing, though, right? The lights go out. I'm like, well, all right, hang on. So I come in here and I get the lanterns that I got up there. I got 3 electric lanterns, right? I've got more, but I think Noah and my daughter have like a couple of them floating around the house for various purposes. So I take these and I spread them out around the living room and the kitchen where we're going to hang out, right? While I'm doing that, Paul's daughter, Presley, comes walking back into the kitchen with an armload of wooden and plastic swords and lightsabers. And she starts handing them out like a gunner's mate.
Like she's the armorer when the zombie apocalypse begins.
She hands me a lightsaber, and I'm like, all right, thanks. And we just look at her. I go, are you okay? The lights are out. And Paul goes, it flipped upside down, dude. There you go. You got to be 10% smarter than the thing you're trying to work. Paul goes, honey, it's just a blackout. It's not the zombie apocalypse. It's okay. And she hands him a sword, and she's like, well, it's okay, just in case. Just in case. I'm like, all right, well, this makes her feel better. So everybody had plastic lightsabers and wooden swords, and we finally wound up playing like board games for a little while, and then the power came on, and everybody was happy.
Yeah.
But
it was too late to record.
Yeah, it was
the actual.
No, I had to
eating
get ready
of
for
that.
bed, and it was just funny as hell. Like everything went out. We were just like, yeah, all right, this is gonna, because I saw the lightning strike because my cousin was just leaving, and it hit like just beyond the neighborhood over there. I was like, oh well, that's not good. And I turned back around. I walked in the house, and well, all right, this is it. So yeah. So anyway, that was our 4th of July weekend. How was yours, everybody? Let us know. We're still waiting to see if anybody's got missing fingers.
That's right.
But outside of that, now we're on to our main episode today. We'll start off with anybody got a Florida man?
I got one.
Oh, yay. Everybody's got... Oh, I'm so proud of us. Go ahead. Somebody.
All
Eric,
right,
you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So mine is a Florida man accused of stealing an ambulance. So this was a little while ago, but I thought it was a good one anyway. So this was in the Villages in Florida. So this guy, the police got called on him because he was like drunk and unruly, and people were worried about his safety, right? So they take him to the hospital. He sits there for like 2 hours and he gets pissed off and he leaves, but he has no way to get home because he was taken there by the police. So he steals an ambulance. Okay, and he drives back. He lives about 6 miles, I think they said, 5.7 miles from the hospital. So he steals the ambulance, goes home, parks it like by his house
In his driveway.
but then goes in and hides in the trunk of his car. And so the police show up. It's obvious where he's at, and
Right.
they, I guess, have probable cause at that point, and they're searching the property, and they find him in his trunk, and they're like, "What the hell?" And he's like, "Well, I had to wait forever for a doctor. I got sick of it, so I came home." And they're like, "Okay, so you got picked up for being drunk, brought to the hospital, and then you were still drunk, and you drove this back." And it's,
Right.
Yeah, but that's it, Florida man. I think we need a musical.
Yeah, it
intro
needs
to
its
this.
own.
Oh, we're gonna. Yeah. Oh, all right. All right. That's a project now. We're gonna find one.
All right. Florida man accused of running from deputy during traffic stop, hiding heroin in his rectum. The sheriff's office said a deputy was trying to pull over the man because he didn't use a turn signal or yield to traffic. And then it says, let's see. So the guy gets pulled over. He doesn't use a turn signal, fails to yield, so he gets pulled over, and he's freaking out because he's got heroin and a bunch of other stuff. He goes running into the woods. Vehicle was impounded. They find meth and a syringe and a scale and whatever. But it said in the other one that he had a container of heroin in his rectum, and I'm like, how can you run with a container? It didn't say what the container was, but I'm thinking, Altoids container or something. Like,
Tupperware.
Right.
Medium-sized Tupperware.
Right.
Little Glad,
I hope he burped
Glad
it before he stuck it up there.
Yeah, because you got to keep it fresh.
That's right.
Yeah, so, but how's he running with a container, whatever size container it is? Look, your butthole's not big enough for very many containers, so I don't know what it is, but
Kegels.
right. He's like, that's why that's why he didn't get away, right? Because he's doing that kind of poo-poo dance
shuffle
run.
walk.
That kind of poo-poo dance run.
Better than the guy that tried to hide it in his nose with no container, I suppose.
There you go.
True.
That's my Florida man.
All right. So coming out of Indian Shores, Florida. I don't know where the hell that is, but it's there. It's here. I got a Florida woman. Jungsoon Wipcha. Bless me. Thank you. I saw that one coming. 66. Florida woman ruins $2,000 worth of ice cream after repeatedly picking her nose and stuffing her finger into the ice cream containers. Then she urinates into the bucket used for churning.
Oh my god! What the hell? Is that like an ice cream shop or something?
Yeah, apparently she owned the store next door, and they shared a bathroom. And the people at the ice cream store was like, I think she was pissed that we were getting popular, so she went over there and ruined a bunch of their shit. You got to be a special kind of disgusting,
Right.
But this also, I chose this one because of something that I've seen recently in social media. Have you guys seen these things here? Like the cops are like guarding
People are licking ice
in
cream.
Walmart.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It's not just,
yeah.
but there was like a transgender something or another that like got Listerine, gargled it online,
spit it back
in the bottle. And so this is like a thing. This is like their new trend now to, and I don't mean transgenders by there. I just mean social media. It's a new trend.
Yeah.
So before I get hate mail, there's my one per episode.
We don't plank anymore. We don't Tebow. We don't.
Yeah,
now
now
we do this thing.
we disgustingly
We don't eat Tide Pods.
use-
Yeah.
That's in my conspiracy list.
Right.
But they use things like in some disgusting way and then leave it there for someone else to get. And there was mouthwash. It was ice
I've
cream,
seen the
licking
ice
ice
cream
cream
thing,
containers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so this, like, she just now, apparently she had like a vendetta against the store next door, but it reminded me of what's going on currently.
Wow.
I'm like, just, you're all like a certain kind of special. Can you just like get a life and leave people shit alone?
Yeah, so, this is going to feed into the episode, but I think there's a thing that happens now with all the social media, everything, right, that you see something, and it could be like an extreme fringe, like only 2 people have ever done that, but you see it on social media, and you see that one thing shared 100 times, and you think, fuck, that's widespread.
Yeah.
Right.
That is a problem. And so we'll get into that with the conspiracy theories, because I think that's a big driver of why conspiracy theories are popping back up or becoming more popular. It's not because there's like a bunch of people that actually believe it necessarily. It's just that you see that repeated on your social media feed.
Yeah, because
like
there's been
everywhere.
a few, like the challenges that weren't real.
Yeah, and there's 30 different articles about the exact same one instance of something happening.
Yes.
And then you think, oh, fuck, that is a common thing now. Oh, my God.
Well,
So let's hope that people licking and spitting in products and putting it back on the shelf
not a real thing.
is a fringe thing that's happened a few times, and there's just been 100 articles on it.
Well, and then what happens is, because every news outlet has so much time to fill, they're going to social media, and anything that even starts to trend or has a hashtag that's got a couple, follows and reposts to it, they'll do a story on it, right? And so now then it's been reported on the news or on their social media page. So that's how it's also spreading.
Yeah, I agree. So, yeah, I really do. I think there's a lot of that where it's mostly the media spreading it. So
I hope so.
We can get into that further as we get
so.
between these 2 episodes.
So for today's episode, I have actual poll data to see how widespread this really is, not social media thing. But
all right. Well, in that case, do you want to hold What Are You Into until the next episode?
Sure.
When we do the full conspiracy theories, or do you want to go? You know what I mean? You want instead of doing Florida Man when we record the second episode today?
We'll just do What Are You Into? Yeah, that's good.
All right. So that's good.
all right, so then
Because I got a bone to pick with you fuckers on that one.
okay.
Anyway, so let's go into. We are discussing Eric's favorite fucking topic.
Second favorite. I think flat Earth would come first.
Oh, see, but it's got something to do with something there. The Earth and the Moon. We're talking about the moon landing and whether or not it happened. So, fact or fiction, moon landing. Let's start talking.
All right.
We started this because we are. How many days away are we from the?
So July 20th will be
Thank you,
the
our historian.
50th anniversary of the Apollo 11 moon landing.
I almost fucked that up.
So that is part of the reason we're talking about. I guess we could have saved it for next week, but why would
Nah, it's all good. No, let's do it now. We're excited about it.
Yeah.
Some of us a little bit more than others.
Yeah.
Eric wrote a dissertation on the moon
I might
landing.
have put together a 5 or 6 page note segment.
It's got bullet points. It's referenced.
Listen, it was for the benefit
There's
of the group.
footnotes.
But
There's a bibliography in the back. What the fuck?
all right, so the first thing to talk about is, how widespread is this? Is this real thing, right? Or is this something that's spread around the internet? Now, lucky for us, this conspiracy theory is so widespread that people have done numerous polls on it, right? Yep. And so the answer to this, I won't cite a specific poll, but there's been everything from about 5% to up to about 20% of the U.S. population believe that the moon landing was hoaxed. And a little bit of it depends on timing. So the older the polls are, the less people believe it. So I think as the generation that saw the moon landing happen is sort of coming to the end now.
Off, yeah.
People are, astronauts, I think about 3/4 of the ones that actually stepped on the moon are now passed.
Yeah.
There's only three left, I think. And even the ones that flew around it, there's about 9 out of 12 that are still alive. So I think as that's happening, people are getting more into this, believing this conspiracy theory because they weren't there to see it, and you can say whatever you want, right? And you can ignore anything that people back then would have known. They would have seen. They saw it
live on TV, right?
Right. So I think that, coupled with what we talked about with the internet spreading things, has made this a little more widespread. So best case scenario, 1 in 20 people believe the moon landing is hoax. All right. Nice. And so that's pretty sad. But there was another one I threw on here. It was just funny because the Russian Public Opinion Research Center, right, this is a state thing, but did a poll in Russia last year about the exact same thing. Do you believe in the moon landing? 57% of the Russian population thought it was fake.
Oh, yeah.
Thought it was fake.
Well, of course they do.
Sure they do. So with the Cold War and everything, it's not funny.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not funny. To them, it's a little more serious, and they probably
it's
have
legit
reason to
fake.
But here's one of the interesting things. The government of the Soviet Union, before it collapsed, never once, ever suggested it was faked. And of all the people that could have put out propaganda and could have pushed on that issue, it would have been them. Why the fuck did they leave it alone?
Right. Yeah. Now, I will say, to any conspiracy theory, period, number one, when you guys got in here today, I showed you, my wife had sent me my little magazine on conspiracy theories. That she bought that for me. She found it in the store and sent it to me when I was on my deployment. Yeah, it was like Time magazine. Yeah, the media source. So it was conspiracy theory, mysteries, secrets, and lies. It's really cool. It goes over a whole bunch of the ones from the country, the JFK and all this other stuff. The moon landing's in there somewhere. I love conspiracy theories. I love, every once in a while, when I'm sitting around doing nothing else, I'm popping around YouTube, watching videos on different theories, right? Especially once I've had about 5 or 6. It's like, all right, time to watch. Yeah. So, and then I wind up going down a rabbit hole. Some of them, you're like, psh, what? No, that's not fake. And then sometimes you get the ones that are just convincing enough. And I watched a few different ones on the moon landing where I was like, most of them I was like, psh, no, I'm clearly in the camp of we made it and we did it. And then there was 1 or 2 that I was like, wow, that's really convincing, so.
Right.
And to have it be a conspiracy theory for this long, it always every once in a while I'll see a theory where I'm just like, I don't know. This one I'm pretty, me personally, I'm sure we made it there. But I love how convincing some of these theories really are, and we can get into that.
And I love how passionate some people get in, like, well, if you look right here, there's the
lighting.
There seems to be the lighting wouldn't be like this and such and such, or why are there no stars in the back? Like, they get really passionate about a really minute thing.
And I saw a bunch of different answers for that kind of shit too.
And that becomes the whole thing. And there's a guy, I can't remember his name. He showed up to a place with a Bible in his hand, and Buzz Aldrin was giving a speech, and he said, Mr. Aldrin, if you actually walked on the moon, then just go ahead and raise your right hand and put it on this Bible and swear to God that you walked on the moon. And Buzz Aldrin was like, get out of my face, and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, why won't you do it, Buzz? Maybe you didn't want, and Buzz Aldrin just knocked him out.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, so I will give you that story. I forget the guy's name, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But so he actually Just so we have this one right, okay? So that guy
Eric's
actually,
like, all right, fact time.
no, that guy actually coaxed him to a hotel for a supposed interview for a children's show, and he was supposed to be being interviewed by like a Japanese journalist or something, right? And he shows up, and it's this guy that has been for several years saying, you're a fake, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And Buzz is like, whatever, I'm leaving. It was Neil Armstrong, sorry. He's like, I'm leaving. Fuck you. Right. And the guy keeps following him. And he's like, why don't you swear on this Bible? And at some point he says to him, it was only a few minutes into the confrontation, really, but he says to him, you're a liar and a coward and a thief. And he doesn't quite get thief off before he gets stacked. Now, I'm not a proponent of any kind of violence towards anybody, even if they're annoying the shit out of
It's
you.
okay.
Well, that's just me personally. But I don't advocate for violence. But if you want to follow somebody, if you want to coax somebody into a fake interview and then follow them around and shove a Bible in their face,
you got what's coming.
What's coming. I mean, that might be some sort of self-defense.
Something like that happened to Buzz Aldrin too, or did I conflate?
Maybe I've got them confused. Actually,
they were on the same flight.
Yeah,
maybe.
In any case, yeah, there's been a lot of that. I mean, there's been a few guys that are sort of like, they were fringe kooks in their day, the 70s and 80s, and people didn't really listen to them, and they wrote books and stuff and self-published, but nobody believed them. But now with Reddit and Facebook, people like that have a platform right away.
Yeah, right.
You share your crazy idea, and 100 people back you, and they're all fringe too, but it doesn't matter. Now you got a group.
Right, yeah. They can all find each other. To your point about love and conspiracies, I a couple years ago read this book called History Decoded: The 10 Greatest Conspiracies of All Time by Brad Meltzer.
Nice.
Oh, Meltzer, yeah, I like that guy.
Yeah. He had a bunch of them. Some I had never heard of. Some I thought were pretty interesting.
He did a show on the Discovery Channel, I think, for a while.
Yeah.
I gotta write that shit down.
He was really interesting.
Brad Meltzer.
Yep.
All right.
He,
by the way, we've been talking about the second episode we record is going to be other conspiracy theories outside of the moon landing, and we're going to drop that on Friday. So this is why we're talking now about other shit.
I think the reason, and the reason that I don't find it so hard to believe that on some of these conspiracy theories is, and I think, John, you and I have talked about this before, our government has done some messed up stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Right? We really did at one point inject black men with syphilis just to see sort of what would happen.
Yeah.
Right? We really did spray an untested chemical on our soldiers in Vietnam. Mm-hmm. So there are some stuff that our government has done that you find out and you're like, okay, if that's the case, is it so far-fetched that not the moon landing, but that other weird stuff would happen, right?
Right.
The sheer weight of evidence that the moon landing happened is it's unchallengeable. Aside from the fact that millions of people saw it live.
You would think.
And how many people, I don't want to steal all your thunder, but how many people worked at NASA at this time? No one has given up the story yet. No one on their deathbed.
And that was the first thing I wrote.
last moment says...
It's on the trivia on the last page right there.
Could that many people keep that big a secret?
Correct.
There's no way.
That one guy literally with his dying breath whispers to his loved ones, we faked the whole thing.
Yeah. Rosebud.
Right.
That's what it really was. But now, before Eric goes, I want you to kind of run through some of your stuff here. You touched on, people talking about, when they were giving proof of this is fake, the lighting on the astronaut, whatever, and then the pictures of the moon landing, right? So the one thing where they complained about the lighting, but they have to realize that the lighting was adjusted to get pictures of these astronauts, so it's going to glare off the suits a little bit more, And then the other thing I read repeatedly was the space thing. Well, if they're supposed to be in space, where the fuck are all the stars? Well, now if you and I go outside, maybe in about an hour or so, because it's not quite, it's dark, but it's not dark enough yet. We go outside and I take your picture. My camera's focused on you.
Right.
It's not focused on the fucking stars, which are going to be dim in the background anyway, so you're not going to see them.
Right.
Any picture you see of your own backyard, you don't see the stars really unless you're focused on them. So, there. Fuck you.
Yeah.
That's in there too?
That's it. Yeah.
It's on page 3. We'll cover that. But that's a real thing. And it's even more of a thing back then when they were using real film and the amount of light exposure
Sure.
over time mattered more than it does here in the digital age. But in any case, so I think the best way to start with this is for any good conspiracy theory, right? You have to have a why, right? If there's no good reason to do it, why are you even talking, right?
Yep.
And so certainly the U.S. had all the reason to fake this, like all the reason. I would never deny it, right?
Yep.
And so the question is if they have like the what's the legal term, the mens rea, or you know, do they actually have an intent to go intentionally go fake this for some benefit? Right? I don't think you'll ever find that there's enough proof for that. But in any case, so the background of it, right? So at Disney, what do they say? It all started with a mouse, right? I think for this one, it all started with an abducted Nazi scientist, pretty much. Right?
Like all good stories do.
Yeah, and so when you start with that, you think, "Fuck, this is rife for conspiracy theory. It ought to be one." You know, anything that starts with a Nazi scientist, right? But so you had what the hell was his name? Werner von Braun. So he had the Nazi Aggregat program, which was their rocket program or whatever, right? And he was a Nazi party guy. He'd signed up years before any of this went down with World War II, you know. So, but anyway, he was a rocket scientist for them, and he would eventually build what's called the A4, which everybody else now knows as the V2 rocket, right? First rocket to ever reach space. It was important. Okay, it wasn't built for that purpose. It was built for the purpose of blowing shit up, and it probably killed 9,000 people or something, maybe more than that, when they launched them into Britain or whatever during World War II. But the point was, it wasn't designed for space anyway. But it was significant, right? And so after the Allies, the U.S. and the Russians basically sort of moved in. And everything was collapsing around the Germans. The Russians took over this launch test site, research site, whatever it's called. I'll never remember the name of it. It's really weird, but it doesned matter. Anyway, they took over the site, and the Russians ended up getting a bunch of the V2. Yeah, Peenemünde.
There you go.
They end up getting a bunch of rocket technology, and they take probably hundreds, maybe thousands of scientists to Russia, German scientists to Russia, to work on all kinds of things. It wasn't just for rockets, but so everybody's probably heard of the Operation Paperclip, right? So the Russians had a counterpart to that, which was called like Osea Vacuum or some shit like that. I don't know Russian, but yeah, exactly. So they took a bunch of scientists too. So both countries ended up trying to build a bunch of rockets for defense purposes, though, right? Not for going into outer space necessarily, though in both cases there were contingents within the countries that wanted to do space exploration, right? And so Werner von Braun was one of those, and you know, he's gotten a bunch of awards from NASA despite being a Nazi party member and coming to the U.S. You know, he's got a ton of awards from the U.S. for all kinds of things in science because, you know, he wrote dissertations about how space travel was what he really wanted to do with the rockets and all this other shit. So anyway, you got to a point where we ended up in the Cold War, right? And there was a space race, and that launched with Sputnik 1. So, you know, the Russians had this idea about using the rockets to defend their country, right? That was the whole point. And Nikita Khrushchev, who the hell was that? Yeah, Khrushchev. At the time, he didn't want to spend money on space exploration, right? And he said, fine, you can do this. This is to the German scientists that had come over to Russia. And you can do this, but it better not impact the defense applications, right? You can do this on the side. We'll give you some money for it. And then they launched Sputnik, and the Russian government thought, what the fuck ever. But then people all over the world were like, oh, holy shit. You know, you could tune in on your radio to listen to this beeping from this, satellite in space. And it wasn't even up there very long. Or you could see the flashing light from quite a distance, you know. And the Russians immediately seized on that because they saw, holy shit, you know what? This is a massive propaganda, right? We can exploit this, and of course they did, and they launched a real space program, and the U.S. was always sort of behind the whole time, right? So I think I have a list of the firsts here that I looked up a lot of these today, although I guess I knew some of them, but they put the first satellite space, that was Sputnik 1, right? They put the first animal in orbit, that was Laika the dog. They put the first man in orbit, Yuri Gagarin. They had the first man in orbit for over 24 hours. They had the first group flight and the first spacecraft to spacecraft communications. They had the first woman in space. They had the
Red
first
leader standing by.
Right.
Sorry.
Right. Yeah. They had the first manned space flight where the cabin was pressurized and they didn't have to wear suits or anything. And then they had the first EVA, which is the extra vehicular activity or whatever, right? Where they go outside of the spacecraft, the spacewalk.
Right.
All right. So they had all those firsts over the early 60s. Well, it was late 70s, I guess. Sputnik was 57, I think, 57, and then it went on to the through their Vostok program and all that other stuff. So they had a lot of the firsts, and then at some point. I guess it was shortly after JFK was elected, right? That was the fuck this. We are going to get something first.
Yeah, right.
And what's it going to be? Let's reach as far as we can fucking reach, and we're going to the moon, right? So that was the idea.
As we normally do.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was the idea that really kicked off the U.S.'s overdrive on the space race, right? And so they were getting to the moon. Now, so this is where you say, do they have the motive to cheat?
This was at the time, though, we didn't have any idea how to do some of this. Like, we didn't have the stuff to build the thing. Like, we were nowhere at this point.
No, so
as a country,
all the initial launches. So there was like Gemini and Mercury, Apollo programs. Apollo was the one that would land on the moon, but there was ones before that. But a lot of these initial launches were V2 rockets. They were the Russians' rockets. We just borrowed the technology, basically, or the Germans' rockets.
That's a nice word for it.
We borrowed the technology to just try things out, right? And we had no fucking clue.
Yeah,
and the Russians had no clue.
We didn't even have the fire. Never mind the furnace.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
that's why it was such a huge, like. It was a declaration of like it wasn't just like companies. You're like, what's your big hairy audacious goal? Like, what's the like? This was not we didn't have the infrastructure for any of this stuff.
Yeah,
and
then we come up and say, we're going to the fucking moon.
Yeah, and some of that becomes obvious because the first Apollo mission, like the first numbered Apollo 1, was supposed to have 3 guys on it, and they had a massive failure at the launch pad. All 3 of them died, right?
Right.
So, and then Apollo 2 and 3, which also had manned crews that had been training since 67. Now, this is later, but had been training since 67. Those were canceled. Apollo 2 and 3 never happened. There are no Apollo 2 and 3, So they realized how much more they needed to do before they could really put people out there in a sort of a safe manner. And then there's an interesting question here because it seemed like the Russians were getting all these firsts with no failures, but the way that they operated, they could have failed all kinds of it and just never announced anything and nobody ever knew about it. They could have been in the same boat. But for us, because the U.S. decided to make it public, all that was on record, which was probably more of a driver than it was a deterrent, really, to get it right and to do everything in excess. You don't just have a primary system, you have a backup and a tertiary. They just sort of, if the public is going to watch us fuck this up, we got to make sure we've done everything possible. So anyway, so that's the brief history, right? I hope I did that in 5 minutes or less or something.
We're there. It's all good. We're having fun.
So the next question, then always I hear, this comes from conspiracy theorists and not, is why have we never gone back? So it's been almost 50 years now. July 20th will be 50 years since Apollo 11. Now, of course, there was this is an interesting point. I don't know.
Apollo 11 is when we put Tom Hanks and Wilson on the moon, right?
That was
Kevin Bacon taught a town to dance. No, I'm
something like that
on the moon.
Okay.
But
moonwalk. That's what that comes from. Okay, all right. Sorry, go ahead. This is what happens when you guys start talking to me and I'm the dumbest guy in the room. Okay.
So this is a bit of a tangent that's not on the paper. Sorry, but
you have room for a tangent?
No, not really.
Go ahead.
So there's the question is why I haven't gone back, right? So it's been 50 years, but I wonder how many people realize that Apollo 11 was one of 6 moon landings where humans walked on the moon.
Yeah.
Because I have had conversations with a few people in my life about this moon landing conspiracy, and I swear some of them think that Apollo 11 was the only mission that touched down on the moon.
See, I knew there were more. I didn't know there were 6.
6.
But then how many times do you need space rocks?
There were 11 manned missions that went around the moon. There were 6 that actually landed on it, and people got out and stepped on the moon. Okay, so a lot of people don't know that. And so when you hear about all these, Apollo 11 was faked, fine. What about 12? What about 14? What about 15, 16, 17? Because 13 would have been on the moon too had they not had problems. And that was, of course, the subject of a Tom Hanks movie that's really good. But those all would have been moon landings, and all of them worked except 13. So 11 through 17 except 13, they all touched the moon. For all these 2 guys, right? With rovers and shit, which people also don't know. They took rovers on the last couple missions. They drove like 16 miles away from the landing site. Anyway, so I wonder how many people know that shit. But so why haven't we gone back? That's the question.
We know it now.
Yeah. So I think the primary answer is money. We haven't gone back because of money.
Yeah.
So the Apollo program cost a little over $25 billion. Now that's back in mid to late 60s. I guess early 70s when it ended, 72. But that would be like $200 billion in today's dollars, which really isn't that much money if you think about how much the government spends. But if you look at it as sort of a share of spending, right? In the mid 60s, NASA's budget was getting close to 5% of the total federal budget was dumped into NASA, mainly for moon travel. It wasn't like there was 50 other programs. It was mainly to get to the moon. So today, NASA's budget is less than 0.5% of the federal budget. And that's divided among 100 different programs.
Right.
Sure.
Right? So how much money would they need to get back to the moon? Like 10 times what they have today. Right? And is that going to happen?
And the driver of what sent us to the moon the first time doesn't really exist anymore, right? Like it was about propaganda and winning the Cold War and not having our mortal enemies at the time beat us to this thing, and that sort of
So it was definitely a competition drive then. Now I know, and we'll probably get into it later, but now we're looking at we explore Mars and whatever. So you'll get into that later.
I don't have this on the notes, but we can certainly talk about that.
Yeah,
so
there's is Mars, right?
Well, yeah, because there's an interesting phenomenon today, because there is that drive to get to Mars, right? But it's not necessarily the government's drive, right? There are commercial companies that want to do this.
And now it's Elon Musk. Now it's Elon Musk. Yeah.
Right? And so that drives a lot of things when you have sort of an open, pseudo-free market economy. That drives a lot of other things to happen, and other people will put money into it. It doesn't have to be the government anymore.
Right.
So that is there, but it's not the same way it was there in the Cold War. It's completely different.
Yeah. And then because before we started recording, you also mentioned, like when I mentioned Mars before, you said that they might look at funding a mission to the moon in order to make it a fuel stop.
So he talks a lot, and we won't go over that, but I mean, Trump said that he wanted us to get back to the moon by 2024. Now, his folks at NASA and all the space programs have looked at that and thought about, well, where does that make sense? And where that makes sense, I think the general consensus where that makes sense is the moon could be a stopping point to get to Mars because it's low gravity. You can launch from there with little fuel. So if you can put a big rocket, like a big Falcon Heavy, up to a moon area, and then from there you can take a much smaller one with a lot less fuel, and you can shoot off to Mars. Sure. So conceptually that makes sense. And maybe one day you could have a booming moon economy. I don't know. I mean, there's things on the moon that are more abundant than they are here. I don't know how useful they are, but a moon base could be a real thing.
Marvel's got the Inhumans up there. So.
Yeah. But I think it would be driven largely by what commercial markets would pay for, things they would pay for. And it may be that the moon base's biggest thing is travel, is the tourist market.
Oh my God.
I'm not saying that's 2024.
There's going to be a whole bunch of fucking shopping saves on the moon.
That may be 2050 plus, but
getting into the next show. But this is why the aliens aren't coming, because this is the kind of shit we do. Yeah. Okay. We're going to drop a Walmart and a fucking Piggly Wiggly on the moon and call it good.
There's good and bad in both. I mean, do you want the government to take all your money and force you to go do that thing? Or do you want to just blow your money on stupid shit you don't need because you chose to? I mean, there's trade-offs.
If you're a multimillionaire and you want to get on Elon Musk's rocket to Mars, knock yourself out.
Yeah. And we'll get into the Mars thing in the next show, too, because there's other shit in there. But, yeah. I can see that. Oh, yeah, no, we've been going for a bit.
So we're 45 minutes in. I suppose we should just jump into all the conspiracy theories. So I think I put down about 15 of the most common ones I saw in here. And please feel free to jump in on any of these, and we can talk about them. But I'll start with one that was really, really common that I read a lot, and it's the second one down, by the way. It's the Van Allen belt radiation, right? That the radiation of Van Allen belt
Would have killed them,
would have killed them, right? So a lot of people say this, and there have been folks that have gone into ridiculous diatribes calculating, the solar activity on that time frame and how many rads, like what would they be exposed to, and nobody can listen to that because it doesn't make any fucking sense, right?
Well, yeah. Plus, I mean, they would have just given them 4 various superpowers. They would have come back home, made a shitty movie or 2 or 3
or 4. Yeah.
So this becomes one of the most persistent arguments against this that it's hard to refute because the answer that refutes it is too complicated for anybody to understand. Right. And so all I can say to this one is that every single astronaut from Apollo 7 onwards had a personal dosimeter to measure radiation, as well as 3 sewn into their fucking uniforms. There were passive ones that they looked at after they came back down, right?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so there is a level that's safe, and I think the only thing you can say is that, the Nuclear Commission has established this number that's safe for people that work in nuclear facilities and stuff.
I was going to say, we had them on the
and so it's like
aircraft carrier.
Exactly. So it's like 5 REM or something. The worst case, which was Apollo 14, they were exposed to 1.14 rads during the mission. Okay, so that's 20% of the safe level, and that was the worst case. Now Apollo 11, it was 0.18 rads. That's nothing. That's like you get.
It's like an X-ray.
It's no,
not even.
An X-ray is like 800 times that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
There's just very little exposure. They were only up there for...
Plus, it's also like a constant exposure kind of thing.
Yeah, it is a time-based thing. So you get 5 REMs in a year is sort of the safe
what
level.
you're allowed to get.
Yeah. But, I mean, they got...
It's like your UV.
Right.
Yeah.
They got 1.14 in that worst-case mission, 1.14, in that time frame. But it doesn't matter. They didn't go back. They didn't go through the radiation belt again later that year. I mean... It was done, right? So it doesn't make any difference. But all I can say to that is you don't have to go through all the scientific stuff. There was no solar activity. This has been confirmed 100 times. There was no extra thing. And they measured it. They measured how much exposure there was, not just on the people, but also inside the spacecraft. The spacecraft had dosimeters all around so that if there was like an emergency, if there was a solar flare, they would know the best place to go sit so that they would be exposed to the least amount of radiation. Right? So this just it isn't a thing. Radiation could kill you in space, sure. It wasn't a risk for them. I mean, that's really it.
Oh, I liked your reticles appear behind objects in some photos.
Yeah, photos are I think the thing that when you
a lot of people like
when
to
you
jump
read
on
or
that.
watch one of these conspiracy theories about the moon landing, it's usually photos and then the flag.
The flag, those 2, those are the ones I want to get into because I touched on what you were saying earlier with the stars and all that other shit.
So half of these are about photos, honestly, because that is the biggest thing, and people have good arguments for some of these things, but I think they're explicable, right? You can understand what happens.
Well, because typically half of the arguments are coming out of somebody's living room. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So the majority of the cameras had this thing called a rosé plate on them. Roseau plate, sorry. And it's like a piece of glass that has like these little tiny black reticles drawn on it, engraved on it, whatever the hell it is. And so you see those in the photos. Okay. So there are several pictures where those reticles appear to be either behind the object or they're missing, or they look like they're washed out, like somebody tried to draw around them, right? And
so it looks like somebody manipulated something.
And so I can't personally explain this, but I read NASA's explanation for this, and they basically said this is only an issue on scanned or copied photos. It doesn't exist on any of the originals that they have. And the issue is that when you copy it and you overexpose, like because those reticles are completely like pure black, if there's something behind them that's white or a lighter color, and then you overexpose the image to make it look better, it basically washes out the little tiny thin black line, right? And it makes it look like it's not there or that it's distorted. And I could see that as being believable. And I looked at this one specific one that made me sort of believe this explanation. There's an Apollo 15 photo where David Scott is saluting the flag. And the crosshairs on the right side are directly over the stripes on the flag, right? And if you look at it, where it's red, the reticle looks perfectly normal. Where it's a white stripe, the reticle is all jacked up and blurry, right? And so their point with showing this, we're talking about this, was why would it only be blurry on the white part? If the flag had been added in or something, the whole thing would be blurry.
Right.
You know,
right,
but this is like truly an issue of the white is much brighter than the red, you know, in a black and white picture.
Sure.
But so it distorted the reticle more, and that's it. You know, we didn't draw the white stripe in, and the red was already there. That wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah.
You know, so I can believe that, even though I don't know really squat about digital or analog photography and how it works.
Well, you know, the copy of a copy theory, right?
Yeah.
It's Michael Keaton, multiplicity.
Right.
Which explains half of the people with the theory.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Now, you guys have other photo ones you read about? Because I'm sure.
Well, I love the one, and you talk about it in here, and we talked about it a second ago. The whole like, why aren't there stars in the photo? If Mars, the moon, not Mars, the moon has no atmosphere, so you're standing on this thing. You should be able to see the stars brilliantly clear, and the reason it's not in there is because NASA didn't want to accidentally do it wrong and put the wrong stars in or from the wrong hemisphere or something, and be shown to be a fake.
So I have a theory on this that I didn't read, but I put on here just because NASA would have. So this is the theory, right? They didn't put the stars up there because somebody would catch them. Everything would be out of whack, and somebody would notice that. Yeah. How are they going to know that everything's out of whack? Because the stars are fucking predictable. You know exactly what they're going to be from every vantage point at any time. NASA would certainly have fucking known that, and they could have drawn the stars in the right way if they wanted to. To say that they didn't draw them in so they didn't get caught is stupid, because that requires the person that's going to catch them to have the same knowledge that NASA would have already fucking had. Right. Where are the stars?
They do. They got a computer in front of them.
Yeah.
Right. And any other jackass would have been doing this on some paper, drawing lines, and you know what I mean. And NASA had fucking supercomputers to do it. Like, give me a break. They would have had them in there, but that's not really, of course, the reason. And I think the NASA explanation is as good as any here, but that, you know, there is foreground light that's bright. These are analog cameras printing onto film, and exposure time matters. And when everything in front of you is bright as fuck, the exposure time has to be really brief. And the result of that is anything that's faint light doesn't show up.
Right.
You know, and there are some other photos that have been taken that have sort of proven that there were stars there. So they happened later, though. They didn't happen Apollo 11.
We got to prove this shit, because these people are going to...
Yeah. So Apollo 16 took an ultraviolet camera out to specifically take pictures of the sun and stars. And so then that can be validated later by other people that have looked at them in ultraviolet, right? And that's easier to do. The exposure time is different. It's fine, right? And so they did that on Apollo 16 to prove a point. But nobody will ever talk about this, and this is actually pervasive in every myth we're going to talk about today, is in order to believe what they say is wrong with it, you have to first ignore all the other things that were right about it. You know?
Which is my favorite part about some of the conspiracy theory rabbit holes I've gone down. Because I go down some really big rabbit holes, and I'm like, just like, this is great.
You know, and so they took pictures of the stars from the command module on Apollo 15, and they took pictures from the surface on 14, where nobody wants to talk about any of those. Let's just talk about Apollo 11. Right. You know, because that one didn't happen. Maybe
that's the only one that mattered.
I don't know. The first one, that just didn't happen.
That's the only one they all know about.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the fluttering flag in the wind. Oh,
that's the other one most people point to as the thing that shows
There's no
that
wind
it's
in
fixed.
space,
Right.
dumbass.
Why does the flag wave?
There you go, thinking man.
So
it's because the air conditioner in the studio kicked on accidentally and it blew the flag around.
Yeah. That's a weird thing in itself, right? Like, where was all this wind blowing up this dust and shit beforehand? But anyway, I mean, honestly, the description NASA gave for this is that the one corner that's not tied to anything, that's not hooked to a pole, just fucking moved. There's no air resistance. Right. Like, it swung like a pendulum because there's nothing stopping it. You know, it makes perfect sense to me. But when you look at some of those pictures, I can understand where people get this problem, because if you look at a still photograph of Neil Armstrong standing next to the flag, it looks like it's billowing. Right. Well, but if you look at consecutive pictures of him standing next to it, he moves and the flag does not. It's just stuck like that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, they made it like that to...
Right, it's rigid.
Yeah, to show off the stars and stripes.
Right.
So as the, end all, be all, fuck all to Russia, look what we got, motherfucker. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not cloth, right? It doesn't droop, it doesn't billow, it's solid.
It's there, yeah.
It's solid.
Let's see, what else do we have on photos? The number of photos taken is implausibly high. So somebody went through they were spent 21 and a half hours on the moon's surface doing the walk on Apollo 11, give or take. And so somebody went through and counted every single photo that they took and divided that by the time and said, you know what, this is impossible. They would have had to take a photo every 50 seconds or something like that. Now, of course, that's averaging, which is ridiculous. But and there were 2 of them with cameras, not 1. So that's a little bit forgotten fact there, I guess, when you're talking about it.
I accidentally took 17 shots of my own ass with my phone.
Yeah, so that's the other thing. These cameras were really high tech for the time, and they were really cool, and they had super cool optics, but they made everything simple for the astronauts. Everything was fixed. There was no settings to change. It was all controlled. Low exposure time because of the brightness. They could take a picture every second if they wanted to. And there may be a lot of cases where they took 30 freaking pictures back to back and they didn't take any for several minutes. Right. Yeah. You know, and using that as an argument of there's too many pictures. I'm not even sure they're all taken from the same like couple's perspectives anyway. You know, what's the theory here? That there were like 100 cameras around the studio, like all right next to each other in groups taking. I'm not sure.
Also, you're on the surface of the moon. You're going to take a lot of pictures, right? Just look at everybody's Facebook feeds and Instagram. Like,
look at everybody's feed when they come from like Iowa to Disney. Okay,
right? There's 300 photos every 10 minutes. Like,
sorry, all of our fans in Iowa.
Yeah,
and that feeds into
excited.
That feeds into another one of the conspiracy theories that NASA has addressed, which is that how did you get all these high quality photos? The astronauts took thousands of pictures, and
they picked a handful.
Yeah, and out of 6 manned missions, there's like 100 that you have in the public domain. Like, of course, they're all going to be good. Like, they handpicked the ones that came out nice, and the rest were shit.
Right.
I mean, and a lot of the shit.
We'll
ones
leave the
are
one with Neil
available.
Armstrong's thumb on the lens out. That's okay. You know what? They should release a few of those.
They have actually. They have not thumbs over the camera, but like shitty blurred pictures. They've released quite a few of them.
Oh, okay, yeah,
and
that'd be fun.
Like I said, it requires you to ignore the other facts staring you in the face to believe a lot of this, and that's one of the things you have to ignore. There are shitty pictures out there you can look at. NASA had to release them because there's so many assholes that say this is fake, you know. But it is what it is. We don't have to go over any other picture ones. I know there's quite a few more, but actually I have a fun one.
Yeah, we're going to have you drop this on our Facebook page. Just so people can read it.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Yeah. So there was one other one, though. So I read a few times who filmed Neil Armstrong taking those first steps down the ladder.
When I first read that question...
If he was the first human there.
That side of me that's like... that loves the conspiracy side of it. Yeah. When I first read your question part before I got to the rest of your shit, I sat back for 1 second, just a brief second, because there's that side of me, and went, these motherfuckers. So, you almost blew out like the whole theory for me.
Well, so the answer to that, of course, is a camera attached to the lunar module, right? So he had to flip a switch before he descended down the ladder, and there was a fixed
perfect fucking
camera taking fucking pictures or taking video of them. It wasn't like there was another person there, and you don't even have to go through any effort to figure this out because 2 companies were awarded contracts to build fucking cameras for Apollo 11, RCA and Westinghouse. That's public knowledge. You know, one of them built them for the modules and one of them built the handhelds, right?
And now one of them built my water softener. Anyway.
Yeah, it's just it's frustrating sometimes to read some of this stuff. Like, what the fuck are you thinking?
The thing I really liked, 2 things that I always point to, and we talked about this a second ago, the sheer number of people that worked on this project at some point in their careers or the entire time.
Yeah. So
and that not a one of them has ever contradicted the story. And then you point out here all of the other countries that were either like, look, if this thing goes bad, then we're going to dump in here and the Indians are going to come pick us up or the whatever. Like, we had a bunch of other plans, help and other contingencies from other countries should something go.
So then you had other countries keeping our secret too?
Right.
So this actually addresses
I mean, you could lie to them and say, if this goes wrong, and they're all standing there looking.
Just waiting.
And we're in Hollywood.
Right.
So, again, not on my paper, but I have a theory about that. But you're right. So to answer the question, there was about 400,000 engineers and scientists and technicians involved in just the Apollo program. Forget about Gemini and Mercury, just Apollo. 400,000 people. Now, you could say, Okay, half those people were duped, or they didn't know what they were doing. They were working on some isolated thing. Fine. Okay, fine. Let's say that.
Like the guys that built the bunkers.
But then you have to look deeper into what would that require, because the mission control station wasn't just government employees. There were contractors there from companies. They were being fed telemetry data from the spacecraft. So if you're faking all this and you don't want them to know you're faking it, you have to figure out a way to get into the systems they fucking built for you and send them back false data and false readings about all this shit about where the aircraft or spacecraft is, right? That's what it takes for them not to be complicit, for this to be some tiny little thing. They would have had to, the government, a handful of people in the government, would have had to hack into programs written by dozens of different companies to do dozens of different functions to feed them fake bullshit data while the mission was happening. So, do you think that's realistic? Are there a dozen super smart people that pulled this off in the government and fed all these people fake data and fake video feeds, and they just were unaware?
For the amount of people that would have to keep this secret, I don't trust like a handful of people with my damn Wi-Fi password.
Right.
So I mean,
I know, right?
You know, shut up.
And there's so many failures that happened just on Apollo 11. It's like either they hired a couple of the best script writers in the world, which is a great conspiracy theory, by the way, which is at the end of my list, but you know, they hired some great script writers to come up with all these things.
That's the only thing I wrote down on this, by the way.
Or it's real.
Stanley Kubrick?
Yeah, Stanley Kubrick. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, like, everything from, like, when Neil Armstrong went back into the lunar module after they were done or whatever, and he busts the switch off one of the circuit breakers. And it's the circuit breaker that's supposed to fire the main engine so they can get off. And what does he do to fix it? He takes a fucking pin and uses it as like the stand-in for the switch, right? Mm-hmm. Now, somebody would have had to make that up for reasons of positive believability. I don't know what
just
that was my heater. Yeah. My heater just shut off. Yeah.
Somebody would have had to make that shit up.
We all thought we were going to die there for a second.
You know, and there's so many other little things like that, like them overshooting the landing site by 4 miles, and there's just so many things that went wrong. Like, I can't imagine somebody just invented this all for a script. And then again, they got to feed all this bullshit data to confirm all those things back to people that are unaware that it's happening, that it's fake.
All right, time out. Because I'm not going to let another thought slip. I want to bring attention to the fact that the water heater shut off. So it's a hybrid water heater, so it makes a lot of noise blowing out air, right? But in the midst of us talking about a possible government conspiracy, it went silent. All three of us started looking around like paranoid fucking rabbits. Yep. Like, they're here.
What just happened?
They're going to come get
They've
us.
Heard us.
It was so fucking perfect. We all just went,
right.
Oh my God.
All right.
Maybe
there's some truth to
If there's
this.
not an episode 34, this is going to go in the, like, oh, see, they were onto something.
See, I told you fuckers we need to start doing live feeds.
So, on top of the 400,000 people that were NASA employees or contractors working for NASA, there's all the outside stuff, right? This thing was televised live in 33 countries. There were 4 ground stations that were used for deep space communications. 2 of them were in foreign countries and were operated by primarily foreigners. One of them was in Spain, and it was operated by the Spain's version of NASA or whatever. And then the other one was actually contracted through the Australian government. And interestingly enough, that site that was contracted, which I think is called Honeysuckle, I forget the name of it right on paper, but ended up being the one that took the live broadcast from the Apollo 11 lunar module and spread it around the world. Right. And so the reason that happened that way is because they happened to have better weather or whatever that moment it was happening. They looked at all the different feeds from the US and whatever. And they just said, you know what, that one's the best one. We should just switch to it. And they switched to it. Yeah. So that would also implicate, a private contractor running another government's telescope facility to be in on this. And they couldn't have really been receiving a communication from the lunar surface if this was hoaxed, right? But yet they would have had to point their, telescope, their antenna right at the right spot on the moon to fucking pick this thing up.
Right.
It's like, I don't know how it could be. There's just so many parties that would have to be involved. And then you could look at everything that happened after. They brought back moon rocks. Moon rocks were gifted to 135 different countries. Some of them pulled them apart and looked at them and verified the shit didn't come from Earth, right? Mm-hmm. Or they're 4.3 billion years old, which is only possible if it came from the moon, not from the Earth, because we have volcanic activity and these things get renewed, right? All these things were just like, there's just no way. And then you could look even further to current day. You could look at the Japanese JAXA mission, Selene, I think it was called, the little lunar probe they sent. It took pictures, does 3D mapping of the surface, right? They know that where the guys landed is legit. That's legit. It's really there, Mm-hmm. Like, how do you get all these other countries to get in on this? I mean, you really have to be ignoring the obvious stuff staring you in the face.
That's because we all owe each other money, so
Is that what it is?
It's real easy.
I mean, we're talking at this point like Japan and Australia, and not to mention in Australia they have to convince their own private citizens to be in on this because it was a contracted site that wasn't. True. It's just all nutty. Yeah. It's really all nutty.
And the embarrassment it would have caused us at the time for at any time for this to have been exposed as a fake, right? The Russians would have been trying to do this for a generation.
Yeah,
mm-hmm. Right. If the Russians, any time before sort of the fall of the Soviet Union, if the Soviets could have ever said with evidence, this was a fake, here it is, they certainly would have done it.
And so to that point too, China was one of the countries that they gave moon rock samples.
China.
Yeah, and given the timeline of it, if there was anybody else that could have said, "Hey, fuck you, you lied," it was them.
Right.
But they didn't. They took the rock sample.
Billion people to shut up.
They didn't say shit. So it's just kind of like, I'm not sure how this goes beyond the internet, but are there any other ones in here you want to talk about?
I just want to jump into my favorite one.
The Stanley Kubrick one. Yeah,
my favorite.
Let's do that one.
Conspiracy
close it out.
theory
We're over an hour. Right?
Is that no, this is a good one. My favorite theory is that Stanley Kubrick helped in the hoax. He helped film, or if he didn't personally film the moon landing here in Hollywood, not here, but in Hollywood. The other theory was that the government approached him for use of his studio and said, "Hey, we just want to go over here like Saturday and Sunday, and it'll all be back the way it's supposed to be on Monday, whatever." And he was like, "All right, one-time deal, whatever, bye." And he turned his back and whatever. And they filmed it, and that's what you see for the last 50 fucking years. Now, the other part of the theory is that Kubrick kind of admits all of it within the movie The Shining.
Yeah.
Which, again, all right, here's my favorite part of conspiracy theories. Like I said before, sometimes I get some good ones where I'm like, it's pretty believable. And other ones I go, wow, what the fuck are you smoking? At either side of it, though, I always sit there and I go, how much time do you have on your hands to figure all this shit out? Now, okay, I guess because like my head is full of superheroes and sci-fi shit, whatever. So yeah, like when you guys spew something off, and I'm like, no, this happened here. Yeah, I mean, I get it, but when I watch these theories, I'm like, wow, that makes sense. But how the hell did you sit there and watch that? Like,
it's like counting all the photos. You talked about this a second ago. They counted all the photos they took of thus and such, and then divided it by the number of minutes they were up there. And it would have like, who does that?
Yeah. So like, here's just a few of the things that I wrote down off of this theory, right? So apparently Kubrick left clues in The Shining that he had been responsible for, or he helped the hoax. Okay. The first was Danny's sweater has Apollo 11 on it.
Mm-hmm.
The next is Danny's seen playing on a carpet that is shaped like a launch pad.
Yeah, and he's in the middle of one of the diamonds.
And he's in the middle of one of the diamonds,
yeah.
And I took a picture, I took a screenshot of one of them, and I'll try to get it up while I'm talking.
And he is definitely indeed dead center. And
he is dead center,
and his little toys are right in the middle. He has like a space shuttle or something, right? In his hand, and the toys that he's playing with on the carpet?
Yeah, I forget. Well, I guess I didn't take a picture of that one. Oh, well. All right, no big deal. Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay. Yeah, he's playing with it. Well, it looks like he's got a bunch of cars, but it looks like he could be like setting up the vehicles around the shuttle launch, and you can see like that's what it looks like. I'll post this picture later.
So it's a hexagon.
So it's a hexagon. So all right, yeah, okay, it's a basic shape, right? Anyway, see, because now the asshole side of me is going to start coming out every time I talk about this. So the carpet looks like a launch pad, whatever. And then one of my other ones that was really funny, room 237, right? The famous room with the hot / old decrepit lady in the tub. In the book, and I remember this, in the book it's room 217. And they're saying that Kubrick changed it to room 237 to represent the 237,000 miles between Earth and the Moon. Okay. Now, on the here's my asshole conspiracy theory side. Well, why would you change it?
Right.
Why would you change it? That kind of makes sense. Why the hell would you even change the number? Whatever. Maybe he forgot the fucking number. How's that? But there's that part of me that's like, oh, you know what? Yeah, why would he change it? That's kind of stupid. And then the last one was, and this was funny. I love this. When Danny comes out of room 237, his Apollo 11 sweater is torn and he can't speak. And it's a metaphor for Kubrick's being silenced about the whole incident. I'm like...
That's a little much.
Hey, look, I love Stanley Kubrick. Yeah, wow. Again, I applaud the fact that you found all these little proofs of your theory, but oof.
Yeah. That's not
so
really...
there was like a French mockumentary called Operation Luna, right? And it got reproduced. This was like 17 years ago, and it got reproduced in the U.S. I think it was called Dark Side of the Moon or something like that, or something similar to that. But anyway, there was a thing in there about how Stanley Kubrick was going to be assassinated by the CIA or something if he talked about it. And this thing was a joke. Like, it was done like The Onion style, where it was like looked real. They did interviews and stuff, but there was all kinds of obvious shit stuck in this mockumentary that was like, yeah, we're making fun of it, but like half the people that watched it didn't pick up on it and think it's like a legit critique of the... I don't know what's wrong with people. I really don't. But I mean, some people take it as like a serious thing, and they think it's not fake and it wasn't done in jest.
Yeah, I have to watch that now. Oh my god,
what's it called? Dark Side of the Moon.
I think the U.S. title is
Operation Moon.
Well, that was the original. It was done.
But if you Google it,
it was done with English dub overs. I think it was called Dark Side of the Moon.
This sounds right. Oh my god, that's so funny.
Yeah. Dark Side of the Moon. That's what's called for U.S. Yep.
All right. So what else do we got?
Well, so here, this just reminded me of a random factoid that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the moon. But when you hear Dark Side of the Moon, what do you think of?
Wizard of Oz.
Pink Floyd.
Yeah, Pink Floyd. So, and what do you think it's a reference to in the astrophysical sense?
I don't know. What?
So the moon doesn't...
Again, dumbest guy in the room.
Yeah, this is the fun part of it, because this is what I hear a lot, right? So the moon is tidally locked to the Earth, right?
Right.
One side of it always faces us,
right, and it doesn't spin, so there's always one side facing away from us. So
when people hear Dark Side of the Moon, they often assume the back side, the one facing away from us.
Sure.
Interesting thing about that is there is no dark side of the moon. It moves around. They have a day, sort of like we do, although it's 27 days long or something, 29 days long. But there's not one dark side. It moves around constantly. And the other side of the moon is lit half the time.
Right.
Even though we can't see it, we see a new moon. We see no moon.
Yeah.
You see the new moon. But then that means the other side's lit. So there really is no dark side of the moon that you can't see. And that term, while it's got all kinds of connotation, people think about Dark Side of the Moon and think, oh, the back side of the moon, it's fucking dark all the time, we can't see it. That's actually not true at all.
I don't think I knew that. I don't think I knew that. I thought the moon like doesn't spin.
I thought it spun.
It doesn't spin, but you think about lunar cycles and what happens.
So
you go from new moon to full moon because the light is still moving around the moon. Right? We can't see one side of it, but that one side is lit up.
Well, we both learned something the same and different at the same time because we both thought something different about the moon. But that reminds me of a meme that I saw that, oh my god, which ties into nighttime and daytime, and it also ties into what the fuck is wrong with society that we just mentioned. So there was this shot of, supposedly it's a shot from space of Earth where you see night and day.
Yep.
Right? Mm-hmm. So you see in the shot?
Yep.
and every comment is repeated, like just one after another. These people going, imagine what it would be like to live right on that line. What would it be like to be those people where you can just kind of choose which side you want to be on, night or day?
You mean the people that are watching a sunset?
Yeah.
I'm like, have you guys walked out fucking side at all? Like, that sun moves. But that was, I'll have to find it and show it to you guys before you go home. It was at least a dozen comments, and that's all in the snapshot that they took. So there was so many more. But every one of them was, imagine what it'd be like to live there. That'd be so cool. I hope to have enough money to move there one day. Just wait. Sit at home and wait. It's coming.
Yeah.
It
Go outside at the right time. I got one more thing here. I just want to. There's one thing that almost every Apollo mission did. I think it was like 11, 14, 15, 16. They dropped a reflector on the moon's surface. A little metallic reflector, right? No big deal, but they put it on the surface of the moon. And the idea is that observatories on Earth, could shoot a laser at this reflector and would bounce back. And just like a cop gets you on the road for speeding or whatever, they can use these as rangefinders. And so all these observatories around the world that are not government funded, just private entities done by donations, different countries, whatever, use these still today in order to figure out exactly how far the moon is from the Earth at any given second. And they've used that to figure out that the moon is moving away from us like 1.5 inches per year or something. Because if they use all the mirrors that were dropped and they sort of like triangulate, they can get accuracy within about 3 centimeters. So something that's 400,000 kilometers away to 270,000 miles away, they can get accuracy within 3 centimeters of how far it is now because of these mirrors that are on there. Right. And again, this isn't the government, right? This is like McDonald Observatory, University of Texas, Côte d'Azur Observatory in Nice, France. Like, it's not NASA doing this. Right. It's other entities using these reflectors. Now, did they just fucking make it up? Are they part of the conspiracy? All of them?
Right.
Yeah.
That's
what people would have.
It's one big club, and we're not part of it.
We shot a laser pointer in the sky, and then we just said it came back, and you don't know.
Fucking Billy Bobs, right? All them guys with them fancy paper degrees, they don't know nothing.
Right.
I'm going to figure this out with my fucking metal weather vane and
my tinfoil hat.
My tinfoil hat and a 1986 fucking Commodore. Jesus. All right, well, I think the last thing we never covered, you didn't tell us, what kind of cheese is the moon made out of?
Yeah. I hope it's Gouda. I like Gouda.
I do like Gouda.
Smoked Gouda, particularly.
A little monster.
Like a Havarti.
I think it's all of it.
Like a
if it could be like a smoked Gouda,
depends on the layer you go to.
That could be the commercial venture that makes the moon habitable.
Explains why McDonald's. Jesus, you have a moon burger. Oh my god! All right, you got anything else?
Hey, I got some random trivia that's just entertaining value.
Go ahead.
The astronauts were originally, for Apollo 11, were originally given some leeway to name the vessels. The vessels that became Eagle and, I forgot what the other one was called, Columbia. Okay. Right? So they were allowed to name them. But the names they had picked for them were Snow Cone, because it had the point on the letter, and Haystack. Right? And so they got totally vetoed by NASA, and they got renamed something else because the guys wanted to make a joke, and NASA was like, why are you being assholes? This is serious.
No, guys, we're not naming it Landy McLanderface.
so yeah, exactly. That was exactly the concept. They wanted to make like lightheart of it and be like, they're all military guys. They're all pilots.
Yeah, let's have fun with it.
Yeah. And NASA was like, no fucking way. We're gonna do something serious, you assholes.
If it were now, or you put it out to the internet, it'd be Landy McLanderface.
Yeah, it would be.
Or what's the name of that? What? What's the name of that gorilla that was killed?
Harambe.
Harambe. Yeah.
Oh,
everything is Harambe. Yeah.
Oh my god. It'd be #We Love Harambe.
That's right.
So Buzz Aldrin is the only person ever to have taken communion on the moon, and so he did this in private because
now I'm kind of jealous.
Yeah, because at the time there was actually a lawsuit that had been filed against NASA by this atheist woman, saying that nothing that they do in live broadcast or whatever should have anything to do with religion, and so they were worried about backlash from that and affecting the trial or whatever. So Buzz did his whole communion in private and talked about it later. His book. He read a passage out of John.
Can you imagine that being the only guy to do that?
Yeah,
that was like you guys know the comedian Bill Regan?
I know.
I don't think I know that.
All right, I'll have to play it for you later because I'm not going to do it justice. But he's got this whole skit about. So can you imagine, like, you're at a party and you're trying to talk up a girl or whatever, and in the party is like one of the 6 people to walk on the moon, and he's like, you sit there like, I just closed this deal with Betamax or whatever, and like, what'd you do? Well, I was walking on the moon, and what were you driving? Your BMW? Yeah. Well, see, I was driving my lunar module, and I was like, I better be careful. Oh no, wait, I'm the only one out here. It's this whole thing he does is fucking hilarious. It's amazing.
All right, last one I'll leave you with before we close here. So the Saturn V rocket.
To the moon, Alice.
Saturn V rocket, which was what Werner von Braun made basically off the V2 to put these Apollo missions on the moon, right? That today is still the largest rocket ever built by a long shot. So you guys know about SpaceX and the Falcon Heavy, which is a huge... Mm-hmm. So the Saturn V rocket weighed 6.5 million pounds. Yeah. The Falcon Heavy, which is the biggest thing we have today, is 3.1, less than half. Just give you an idea of how fucking giant these guys built this shit.
Yeah, it's
in 1967, 69.
We took our son to the Kennedy Space Center last year for his birthday, and it's on display, and you're just like, holy cow.
Yeah.
I mean, that building has got to be over 100 yards long. Yep. And it's crazy. Yep. And you just think that even the commercial world doing it today, trying to make this work, and they're building rockets that are, in today's dollars equivalent value to the Saturn V, there's still nothing close to what the U.S. government built to put people on the moon. Yeah. So anyway, I'll leave that. I'll post this whole document on the page, I guess. So
we have to.
Read the random trivia and tell me what I got wrong, I guess.
I don't know. I don't think anyone's going to challenge you on this when they see it. But all right, cool. So everybody, let us know what you guys think of the episode. This leads into a series of conspiracy theory episodes that we're going to do. We're going to do another one here in about 5 minutes. We're going to drop it on Friday. Just a bunch of our kind of favorite little ones. And then there's a handful that we're not going to touch, like the Flat Earth and what else you got there, Eric?
JFK assassination, 9/11 cover-up.
Yeah, certain things like that. Like I had the 9/11 cover-up on mine. Maybe I will briefly touch on it on the next one, but we'll leave it for like a big in-depth one. Mm-hmm. But all 3 of us kind of enjoy talking about conspiracy theory, so we're definitely going to get into more. If you've got one that you want to talk about more in depth, then hit us up. Let us know. whatifgeeks@gmail.com, Instagram, and Twitter, and look us up on Facebook and let us know what you think. Tell us what we missed or what you think. And I think that's about it, right?
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, good night, Tony.
Good night, Mom.
Good night, friends.
And thank you, and listen for another episode of Geeks in Space. Space.